everybody and I'll say hello. Hey everybody, hello. For those of you that can hear and see, welcome to the last session, week 12. It's 8 o'clock. The managing director, the amazing Anu, has actually very generously agreed to extending this to 9:30 tonight so we could do a really nice Q&A, robust, that you get to answer all the questions you guys have since it's our last time together. But as I promised you, I think I mentioned this last time, I will be announcing my flagship program on how to cancer-proof your life. So that's for cancer specifically. And I also want to do something for, especially for women, which is related to the menstrual cycle and perimenopause and menopause as well. But I would highly suggest that men attend that as well, because it really helps understand, it helps them understand the various cycles of a woman throughout the month. And I think this wisdom has to be passed on to the younger generations. There should be a rite of passage for the young girls that are becoming women so that they can enter womanhood in a traditional sort of manner so that they can understand rather than be forced into it, not knowing what's going on and what to expect. It's sort of doing communion with nature, with Mother Nature. But that's for another time. I'm working on putting together, it's mainly putting together the information, the presentation. That's some of the work that goes behind the scenes that I do to make sure that you guys get some visuals and some stuff to take away. So coming soon, I will be announcing those, but I want to concentrate on the biggest one, which is the cancer one. So we're going to give it a couple of minutes for people to get themselves situated and join. And then we will begin. I know that Jaspreet was getting things ready for YouTube. And then we will begin. I haven't heard anything yet, Jaspreet, in case you could hear it.
Yeah, sorry, there was a little disconnection on my end. We are live now.
Okay, fantastic. Then we can begin. All right, everybody. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining the last session of this series. I'm going to start sharing my screen so that you guys can see. I'm just going to get myself situated here because I really want to make sure that I get to see the screen. Oftentimes, everybody has their pictures up, so it kind of cuts it off for me, but here we are. I ask that you keep yourselves muted so that we don't have the disruption of oh, Jaspreet, I think you have to make me, I'm not sure if I am host.
So I've made you the co-host. Let me double check.
And then I will start sharing my screen. Okay, I am now the co-host. Perfect. And here we go. All right, everybody. I'm just going to adjust the screen here so that you guys can see appropriately all the slides I've put together. I've made some minor modifications to the first page. Welcome everybody who's just joined. Hello, hello. So this is, as you can see here, this is week 12, and I wanted to start the whole session with this very important message. Make sure you let medicine be your food and your food be the medicine that you take every day to ensure your health and to invest in your health. And I found this visual very powerful. Instead of relying on pills and pharmaceuticals, remember that the best food is from Mother Nature herself, and that is the best medicine, pardon me, is from Mother Nature, and that is by the food that she gives us very generously for free. And of course, it's not free from the stores, but Mother Nature and everything that grows on trees and in bushes and everything that we get to enjoy is given to us very generously by Mother Nature. So this session today is going to be sort of a recapitulation of everything that we've gone over the last 11 weeks. And I'm going to end it with a very robust Q&A. So I hope you came armed with all your questions. And this is how to eat healthy for life. So I'm not going to go through the whole, introduction. You guys have all known me for the last 11 weeks. We've been together for almost 3 months. It's been such a pleasure and such an amazing journey. I'm going to power through all of that, all of the slides that I put together for you guys tonight, because it's quite a bit of information. But of course, you can access me by reaching out on WhatsApp. Those of you that are part of the group, those of you that are not, please join. And let's begin. So the pillars of health are actually, there's 3 of them, and they are the ones that actually determine the quality of life, the health of life, the vitality of life, and that is diet. So that refers to the nutrition and the nutritional aspect that we've discussed over the last 3 months. Lifestyle and mindset. So I only obviously focused on this one right here, and this was the scope of this program that we have obviously gone through for the last 11 weeks. But these 2 are equally important. I hope you will join me in other programs that I could put together so that we could discuss how those affect everything. Because, for example, things that pertain to lifestyle, like things you have in your home, the things that you use to clean, the amount of time that you sleep, the people you surround yourself with, all those things play a role. Mindset, equally important. Those people that believe that they're going to get sick typically manifest exactly that. You have a mindset that is concentrated on health and all the amazing things that the body does for free, and with no intervention from you, with no requirement from you, such as heartbeat, things that are involuntary, the blood flowing through the veins. We do not have anything to do with that. The body does it for us for free. We have to show gratitude and we have to be thankful. But that's, like I said, part of another program. We could talk about that. So some of the common health concerns that we encounter as we age, and I talked with you guys in the beginning how the toxic load that gets accumulated through life typically manifests in older age, because the body is resilient, but towards the end, obviously, it has reached its capacity, and that's when typically disease manifests, especially in conjunction with some other things that are not necessarily of physical nature, but emotional things, traumas, all those things get embedded in the nervous system and in our DNA, and then they manifest on the body. But some of the common health concerns as we age typically are heart disease, and we've gone through these in the beginning when we first started doing this program, and heart disease is the leading cause of death. And what that pertains to, things like coronary heart disease, coronary artery disease, heart failure, arrhythmias, strokes, things of that nature. Cognitive decline, of course, when our brain starts working the way it did when we were younger, when there's no sharpness in it anymore, the memory starts to go. It leads to things like dementia and Alzheimer's, things of that nature. That's when that would be a very big cause of concern, and it typically comes as we age. Diabetes, of course, now younger demographics are afflicted with it. This diabetes, especially type 2 diabetes, as you recall, there are four: type 1, type 2, type 3, which refers to cognitive, and the one that usually women get when they're pregnant, when they have disrupted blood sugar levels. So diabetes type 2, which is the most prevalent one, is actually very easy, and it's part of one of the slides, very easy to reverse with diet. Very, very easy. It takes work, but it's very doable. And cancer, of course, which is the second leading cause of death. Right now, it's 1 in 3, very soon to be 1 in 2, especially with the prevalence of turbo cancers that have actually become front and center of the health industry, especially in the last 3 to 4 years since the beginning of the COVID era, since 2020, 2021. And that's, of course, due to a lot of the stress, a lot of the stressors, people that had no access to some of the medical therapies that they had been used to getting, pre-COVID when we were in lockdowns. So, of course, now it's kind of starting to manifest. And of course, in the years to come, more will manifest. We will see, which is why, as I mentioned, I'm going to be launching my flagship program, How to Anti-Cancer Your Life, How to Cancer-Proof Your Life. And I'm going to be going over the 3 pillars of health. So stay tuned for that. I will announce it. And moving on, the impact of diet. So what we eat, the nutrition has huge impact. And I don't have anything to put on this slide that can really encapsulate just how much of an impact it is. So the diet actually affects our physical health, our mental health. I know a lot of people don't think that the mind is not something you could touch and feel. So food, which is tangible, you could touch and feel it. So the two are not connected. That's not right. Because what we eat actually is what creates our hormones, and our hormones typically affect our mental health. And of course, our energy levels. I mean, of course, we know that when we have blood sugar issues, energy levels are all over the map. So of course, what we eat will affect our energy levels. We discussed how proper nutrition provides all the essential nutrients to maintain energy levels throughout the day. And we will go more into that in later on in this session. Next thing, the importance of hydration. We talked about this at large, and I gave you guys the best recipe to make sure that you get all your hydration into the cells. That's the important thing. It's cell hydration. You have to hydrate at cellular level. So you have to maintain cell structure, cell function, and cell health, because cells are the structures that the whole body is built on. Every single organ is made out of cells. Every single tissue is made out of cells. So those cells have to be healthy for that tissue and for that organ to be healthy. So water is also the most important thing that is required for nutrient transportation, for waste removal, for chemical reactions in the body, for temperature regulation, and for the volume and pressure of blood. So it's pretty much crucial, right? Water is life, which is why even Mother Earth, a lot of water bodies on the planet, right? So it sustains life. Very, very important. And make sure that you get those very crucial minerals into the cells. That's how the water gets into the cell. Those important minerals are what pull the water into the cells. Otherwise, you just drink the water and you pee it out. So very, very important. So this is why hydration matters. So some of the things that it affects, I know that oftentimes people think that it just quenches thirst. That's not true at all. It actually affects skin health. So it provides moisture, elasticity, a healthy glow to the skin. It obviously helps with digestion. It helps break down food and removes waste easier out of the body. And of course, waste removal happens through urine, so when we go pee, but it's also very important for fecal matter removal. I mean, we get constipated if we don't have enough water in our body and there's not enough of it to go into the colon. Very important also for joint lubrication, so there's less friction of the joints, much easier to move joints, and less joint pain and discomfort. Who would have thought that joints need water? You guys have no idea how important it is for joints, because even the what's in between the joints, so that it's not bone on bone, the cartilage actually requires to be hydrated. Again, it's just tissue made out of cells. Kidney function, of course, without kidneys being healthy, we are in a lot of trouble because they're not going to be able to clean out the blood. That's why people go to dialysis. So we have to make sure that they are able to filter out waste from the blood and to prevent the very painful kidney stones. I don't know if I told you guys this story. I meant to. I once worked with this woman. She had 3 beautiful children. They were much older. They were high school and college, university. And she was suffering from kidney stones, like severely. And I remember she said that passing kidney stones was more painful than all those births put together. And she said that they were very, very difficult births for her. She was a very petite woman. She had very large children from what she was telling me, and she said that it was very painful, but she said she would have done it again hundreds of times before she would pass kidney stones. That painful. So if you know anybody that has gone through kidney stone passing, you know what I'm talking about, because they're jagged, right? They're never round and smooth. They're actually very sharp. So when they go down the urethra, the like the channel that the urine passes through, it actually scratches the walls as it goes down. And imagine once the urine passes through there, it's like constantly having something go on a cut, right? It burns. Very painful. So make sure that you get hydrated to ensure that those kidneys stay healthy and filter out the waste, and you prevent those kidney stones, the painful kidney stones. And hydration is also very important for cardiovascular health because it maintains blood volume and blood pressure, which is what I was talking about in the previous slide. And it's also what keeps cardiovascular system functioning efficiently. So that's very important. If we have blood that gets too thick, I'm sure we can all imagine what's going to happen. It leads to heart attacks and strokes, right? We want to make sure that the viscosity of the blood is exactly as it should be. And of course, hydration matters also for cognitive function. I know that a lot of people don't make the connection, but it's true. In order to concentrate and focus, remember I was telling you guys, if I have to go to the bathroom, I cannot think. It's actually something that I noticed. I get very distracted. My mind's focus is on, going to the bathroom. So make sure you're properly hydrated. And of course, we get headaches if we're dehydrated. So alertness and energy production is also reliant on hydration and the mood balance. So neurotransmitter synthesis and function requires proper hydration in the body. So practically what I'm basically saying here, because I kind of outlined everything, but what I'm basically saying is that every tissue, every organ, even how we feel, even how we think, and how we can use our mind, the ability to have function of our cognitive faculties require proper hydration. Water is that important. And remember, when we are in mom's tummy, we are swimming in water. That's that important. It starts from then. So instead of drinking those really bad sugary drinks, here are some healthier alternatives. So if you don't like water that's bland, make sure you use infused water. So infuse it with whatever you like, whether it be cucumber or lemon or lime or fruits, berries, whatever it is. Make sure that you get your water in. You could also make herbal teas and cool them down and drink them as water. I do that a lot. Sparkling water is also okay as long as it doesn't have any flavoring. Remember, flavorings are not real. Flavoring is only real when you flavor it yourself with the right thing. So the real lemon or real lime, not a flavoring that's made with a chemical. So again, of course, lemon and lime water or coconut water. Coconut water is amazing. If any of you have children or know anybody who has children, like the young ones who go out to get drunk because it's the rite of passage and that's where they are in their stage, or if your spouses or whoever, coconut water is the best thing to replenish because it has all the electrolytes. But make sure you get the really good stuff, not the ones that have so much sugar added to them. So coconut water is probably a godsend. So each one of those provides hydration with fewer or no added sugars. So infused water, herbal teas, all of that stuff, especially because if you make it, you know what goes in it. So it's obviously a healthier choice than the sugary and dehydrating beverages. And you remember what those are, right? Alcohol, coffee, energy drinks, none of those. Water. Water is what the body looks for. Moving on to protein. So now we're going to talk about the macronutrients. Macro means big, right? So these are the big ones: protein, carbohydrates, fat. The micronutrients are the little ones. So vitamins and minerals. They're very small. You don't see them. They're not big, but they are still important. So the macronutrients: protein, fat, and carbohydrates. Starting off with protein. You remember that protein is important because it has it's been tasked with muscle maintenance and muscle strength. So it's crucial for maintaining muscle mass to make sure that we have muscle for strength and for the muscle function. And it aids in preventing age-related muscle loss, which is called sarcopenia. And I wanted to emphasize this. I know I showed this to you last time and we talked at large. Falls are the second leading cause of unintentional injury deaths worldwide. This is from 2021, so it's very recent. It's not something that used to happen back in the 50s or 60s. No, it's actually, this is happening right now. And each year, an estimated 684,000 individuals die from falls worldwide. And I'm sure that number has gone up since 2021, but I just wanted to make sure. And I made the connection for you guys, how it's important to make sure you have good muscles, which require good protein intake so that you have good grip strength and you have the ability to maintain an erect, like to be able to walk properly. You're not hunched over. You can maintain balance. You're not going to fall. Otherwise, obviously, this is what it can lead to, right? Unintentional injury and unintentional death. Protein also helps with wound healing and immune support. I know that most people think of protein and muscles and that's it, but no, that's not true. It actually accelerates the healing process. It supports tissue repair and it boosts immune function. And it also helps with the production of enzymes and hormones. And it regulates the metabolic functions, right? Muscle is the metabolic currency. Moving on, so sources of lean protein. I know that we've gone over these and this is very self-explanatory, but chicken, so the poultry family, chicken, skinless, so that you can eliminate the fat, chicken, turkey breast. These are rich in high quality protein with less saturated fat. If you wish, you can have fish. I love fish myself, so fatty fish, salmon, mackerel for omega-3 fatty acids, and it supports heart health and reduces inflammation in the process, and it also provides really good protein. And if you do not eat animal products and you are plant-based, legumes like beans and lentils, as well as tofu, are ideal for you. And it's actually a really good intake of fiber as well. So there you have it for protein. Let's move on to carbohydrates. You guys remember we have the simple carbs and the complex carbohydrates. And this is a really good visual because it shows you that a lot of things made with grains and things that are processed, a lot of what you see here is heavily processed. And what you see here is exactly as Mother Nature makes it, okay? Untouched. This is how it grows. This is how it is. This is how the body recognizes. It has everything sort of like encapsulated in, right? Everything is in there, hasn't been messed around with. It hasn't been taken out, left with whatever, much like how you would see here. So carbohydrates, very important. And I know a lot of times people think that carbohydrates are just pasta and bread, but that's not the case, right? So simple, basic sugars. And again, science-wise, it's composed of 1 or 2 molecules. So it includes glucose, which is the most basic form of carbohydrate, fructose, which is the one from fruits, and lactose, which is found in milk. So remember what I was telling you guys, if it ends in ose, it's a sugar. Very quickly absorbed, so that's why it's simple, gets very quickly absorbed, and it provides rapid energy, but that's when blood sugar drops. Complex carbohydrates include starches in things like potatoes, grains, and legumes, and fiber, which is found in whole grains and nuts and fruits and vegetables. It's digested much slower, which is what provides a sustained energy release. So as I was telling you guys, it doesn't do this with your blood sugar. It does this. It's much more sustained and stable. And it's very important. Complex carbohydrates are important for digestion. So let's go over some of the unhealthy ones first. I wanted to get the bad out of the way. So as you can see here, these are the sugar. So processed and refined foods, adverse effects on health. These are the things that you do not want to eat. They contribute to weight gain, metabolic issues, and chronic disease, and offer very little nutritional value that the body can actually use for its functions. So these are the ones that you want to avoid: white sugar, corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup. So remember what I told you guys, look on the labels, look at what's in that product if you're buying it. Ideally, you should be eating things exactly as Mother Nature made them. But if you're going to buy something that's in a jar, in a package, in any way, shape, or form, look what's in it. And if you see any of these, I gave you guys a list of what sugar is described as, stay away. And of course, sweeteners. Refined grains, refined is that's the key word. So anything like white bread, white rice, pastries made from white flour. Flour in its natural state would never be white. It's made white because it's bleached and a whole bunch of stuff is taken out of the grain before they mill it to make it into flour. Sweetened beverages, so anything like soda and pop, especially, sometimes they say, oh no, I had Diet Coke, not Coke. Equally terrible, trust me. Sweetened teas, so those really good tasty iced teas like Nestea iced tea. I know it tastes really good, and it's probably really good when it's cold in the summer, but let me tell you, there's a lot of sugar in that. Fruit flavored drinks, flavored being the key word, and energy drinks. Definitely nobody should ever consume any energy drinks. I mean, they are so bad, I have no words to even describe. Processed snacks and baked goods, so cookies, cakes, chips, commercially prepared snacks, artificially sweetened foods like diet sodas, sugar-free candies, never sugar-free, really, trust me. Products with artificial sweeteners, so anything that's artificially sweetened for you to be able to want to eat it, because everybody likes, and remember, sugar is actually more addictive than cocaine. Fast food and deep fried foods, French fries, fried chicken, and other deep fried foods. Like if you go to any of those bars to get wings and they have them dipped in some sort of something, which is hopefully flour, and then they deep fry them. Yeah, that actually that's a carb on top of the wings. So stay away. And let's talk about healthy options, right? So these are the ones that provide essential energy and they support bodily functions. They contribute to preventing disease, not, bringing it on. And remember that the quality of the carbohydrates that you choose is just as important as the quantity. Anything, even if it's a lot of good stuff, it's still calories and it still ends up affecting you. Nothing should ever be out of balance. Even water. I know I said water is important. It is, but trust me, when I tell you, if you were to go and drink 6 liters of water, you will die. Legitimately, you will die because you will dilute all the levels of things that are supposed, even your blood will be too thin. And of course, you're going to dilute all the digestive enzymes, all the minerals, or everything in the body. Not a good idea. So healthy carbohydrates have nutrients, low to moderate glycemic index. We've talked about the glycemic index and the glycemic load. Are whole, very important, and very minimally processed, right? And they have naturally occurring sugars, right? So if you look at anything here, like this bell pepper has sugar in it, but it's natural. It hasn't been refined. There's sugar in this grapefruit as well, in the apple, but it hasn't been refined. And these healthy carbohydrates are balanced with other nutrients. Remember, inside this banana is more than just the banana flesh. Inside this bell pepper, there's many, many nutrients. Inside the apple, many, many nutrients. So they are balanced. They have proper ratios. Mother Nature knows exactly what it's doing. And of course, variety and color, because the color actually plays a role in health. Let's move on to fats. So remember the fats that we went over. There are like 3 different types of fats: unsaturated, saturated, and trans. The unsaturated family is actually made up of monounsaturated and polyunsaturated. And the healthiest one is monounsaturated. So mono means one and poly means many. So polyunsaturated fats are healthier. And the examples, of course, I have them on another slide, but just to give you guys, so the monounsaturated avocados, cashews, pecans, olive oil, those are the good things that we should eat. So those are the healthiest ones. So these are the ones that you should eat. You guys can get this presentation so that you can have access to this information, but avocados, olive oil, ideally extra virgin, fatty fish, so you get fat from that, nuts and seeds, coconut oil, dark chocolate, especially made with cacao, not cocoa, cacao, very big difference. So at least 70% or higher. Nut butters, so make sure, nut butter is very easy to make. I make it in my blender. You just throw the roasted nuts in there, and the naturally occurring oils will emulsify it, and it'll make it easier to turn it into a nut butter. Fatty fruits like olives, right? Because those are actually fruits. They're not a vegetable. And eggs. Eggs actually have really good fat in it. And don't ever worry about that whole nonsense that eggs are actually, going to raise your cholesterol. Real nonsense. Cholesterol is necessary for the production of sex hormones. Testosterone, estrogen, all those good things, they actually require the good fats. And of course, the egg is Mother Nature's food. It's untouched. It's not, fractioned and pulled apart and processed and put in a can or a jar or some sort of container. You don't want any of that. Okay, let's move on to some of those conditions that we talked about. So diabetes being one of them. So the devastation of diabetes is that it affects cardiovascular health. It can lead to neuropathy. So neuropathy, remember, is when you don't have feeling, like your nerves are affected. Vision issues. A lot of people that have diabetes, my grandfather was like that. He went blind. So it can lead to blindness. Kidney function. So that's probably one of the most destructive things. It destroys the kidneys. Definitely affects mental health. And remember, I told you guys that it's on another slide and I put it in red. Type 2 diabetes can be 100% reversed with diet. So if you know anybody that's suffering from type 2 diabetes, very easy to get rid of that with diet. Okay. Some of the symptoms, we went over these. I don't want to go over them, but if you do see that you have unexplained weight loss, frequent urination, blurred vision, irritability, excessive thirst, things like that, extreme tiredness, go get yourself checked out. Make sure that you get a proper diagnosis before you go take any kind of action. And there are many natural forms of metformin. That's typically the first thing they put people on to bring down the blood sugar. Some of the risk factors are, of course, being sedentary, so not moving, not working out, not having any kind of physical exercise, excess food, so eating too much, being obese, having too much stress. If you have a family history, and typically a family history is because in that same family, you get to learn to eat exactly the same way that your parents did. So oftentimes, of course, the parents, this is a chicken and egg thing, because I've listened to a lot of things and I watched a lot of lectures, and they say, like, oh, this is genetic. So I'm not a believer of that this is genetic, because think of it like this, my friends. What you see right now in the world is a lot of obesity. But if you look back, even here in North America, if you look back at the 50s, the 40s, the 30s, the 60s, we did not have an obesity, epidemic, let's call it. So if this was to be genetic, that means that those people would have had it and they would have passed it on to us, right? But that's not the case at all. So in the same breath, I still believe that those people that have damaged their genes have passed those damaged genes onto us, onto the, forward generations. However, what happens is that what we eat now, even if we think, like, for example, back when I was younger, my mom used to make me mashed potatoes and I loved mashed potatoes. However, she was making organic potatoes. She was using organic things. Whereas here, especially here in North America, things are not organic. They're very toxic. They're sprayed, so we take in those chemicals as well. So despite the fact that I love mashed potatoes because my mom used to make them, and I think, but I had mashed potatoes and they were perfectly fine. You still have to take into account that there are other factors that influence it. So obesity now is as a result of a lot of things, and people are not aware and they think that it's just that. I actually posted something the other day on my Instagram. It was very sad for me to see. It showed a woman who did not look very healthy. She was obese, didn't look she didn't look healthy, and she did not look happy. She looked angry. And she said, and it was actually, I shared her post because she was actually putting together her child's breakfast. So 1-year-old child breakfast. So what she did is she took about 4 little donuts out of a bag and she put them on the plate and she cut the donuts for the child to eat. And then she took this, what looked like, I don't know, yogurt in this plastic thing that she opened the thing, the top, she took off the lid, and you could sort of suck it out of that container, because obviously this child could not probably chew. So you have to have things that are easy for them so that they don't choke. Now, it took her not a lot of time to do all that. However, I'll tell you this, it would have taken her just as much time if she took a banana and she mashed that banana, and that child would have been so much better off, so much more nutrition. So as you could see, these children watch what their parents do. So they get set up to fail at what they eat because the parents teach them these kind of habits that get embedded in them. Remember, between the age of 0 and 7 is when everything gets written into the subconscious mind and into the memory. And then we just kind of do what our parents did until somebody does the hard work to say, you know what, I'm going to interrupt this whole process. Much like it is with people that have come from, let's say, families where, you know, they were abused, if you want to call it that, like they were hit, and they say, you know what, I'm not going to hit my children. So they interrupt that whole pattern. You could do the same thing with nutrition so that you don't set up your children to become sick later on in life. And you see a lot of that with girls who don't have periods. They don't get periods. They get them too early. They don't get them at all. They're very dysregulated. When it comes to that, and I'm going to be doing a program on that as well for ladies and of course for men to learn about how the whole thing works. The period for women should be regular all the time. There should never be any irregularities. Like, we've normalized irregularities. There should never, ever be any dysregularities in the female period. We are programmed to procreate. So the woman anatomy, especially for the reproductive system, should be working perfectly all the time. But anyways, getting back to diabetes. So remember, keep sugar in check. So that's why I said here, what can you do? Well, here's your answer right here. You manage the blood sugar. You make sure that you keep blood sugar in proper ranges. And I put the target ranges for you guys. So if you fasting, your normal range is right here, 70 to 100 milligrams per deciliter of blood. And if you are going to be above 126, so you should stay at that 100, but when you reach 126, you're in the diabetes range. So that actually means you're diabetic, legitimate diabetic. So if you go and you get your blood taken, you're going to be able to see this. If you're going to eat and then you're going to check your blood sugar right after you ate, so which should be after about 2 hours, you should be below 140, because obviously you have food in your system. So of course the blood sugar is going to go up as a result of what you ate. But if you're going to eat fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, it should not go that far. But if you're going to be eating, you know, donuts, like that woman was feeding her poor child, it's definitely going to go above 140. 200 milligrams per deciliter is diabetic, right? So make sure that you check your blood sugar. I actually advise everybody to go and see where their blood sugar, because this is typically where it all starts. When blood sugar is dysregulated, and that's called dysglycemia, you will see all kinds of things: hormonal imbalance, diabetes, obesity, and, you know, mood disorders, anxiety, everything. It's like a domino effect. It's a cascade. If you're going to do this HbA1c, which I did, which gives you the range for about 3 months. So once you do it, it actually takes, you will get basically the result of what has been for the last 3 months, typically. Normal range is below 5.7. So when I had mine done, it was at 5. It shouldn't be too low, because then you don't want to be too low. You should still have, you know, sugar. We are carbon beings after all. When you're pre-diabetic, you're at 5.7 to 6.4. So my father was in that range around the time that he got diagnosed with cancer. And you are diabetic when you're at 6.5 or over. Okay, so very simple. Go to your doctor, you get it done for free, and then ask for them to give you your results. You can reach out to me. I'm happy to help you demystify that. I do that for my family. Exercise for seniors. So this is one of the most important things that you could do to bring that blood sugar down. And you see here that one of the benefits, and I put it number 1 because it really does do that. And I told you guys last time when we had this conversation on this particular topic, if you can, get some movement after you eat your dinner. Ideally, in the summer, you could go out for a walk. That would be the best thing you could do. And in fact, if you want to fact check me, but you could also do research, check your blood sugar. Get one of those things that you could actually check where you're at, the one that you could tap your phone and it gives you what level you're at. Do it before you eat, do it after you eat, do it when you're fasted, first thing in the morning when you wake up, and then eat dinner, check it, go for a walk and check it again. You will be astounded. I mean, literally, nobody should just go and park themselves on the couch after they eat. Exercise also helps maintain joint flexibility. And of course, it keeps you vibrant and healthy. If you have grandchildren, you want to be able to pick them up. You don't want to be afraid that you're going to fracture a bone or anything like that, because exercise also boosts bone density and reduces the risk of falls. And remember what the WHO said, that every year, over 600,000 people die from falls, like worldwide. To me, that was such a huge number just from falling. And remember, I explained to you guys what happens. You fall, you break something, you're bedridden, you stay there, you get beds like sores because even your skin cannot breathe because you're on the bed, you're bedridden, you're not able to move. Now your skin starts to get that infection. Infection goes into the blood. You could go into sepsis and die. There's just a cascade of very bad things that can happen, which is why this is so important. Literally, you can prevent death by exercising. Some anti-diabetes foods, which is probably one of the most important things, especially when it comes to nutrition, because you want to manage blood sugar levels, you want to reduce the risk of diabetes-related complications. You want to make sure these foods are low on the glycemic index, high in fiber, have lots of nutrients, regulate the blood glucose levels, improves your sensitivity to insulin, and supports your metabolic health. And here they are, right? Berries, anything in the berry family is perfect. It's not too sweet. It's not going to, get your blood sugar all over the place up. Cruciferous vegetables, so broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, anything from that family. I'm not saying that all you should eat is broccoli, cauliflower, and Brussels sprouts. No. Anything from the cruciferous vegetables family. Kale is part of that. So anything from there, anything cruciferous, typically they're all green. Non-starchy vegetables. So starches are things like potatoes, rice, right? But peppers, mushrooms, and asparagus are non-starchy vegetables. Herbs and spices help a lot. Cinnamon is actually amazing at maintaining good blood sugar levels. I recommended that to one of my family members. Turmeric is great, ginger is great, cayenne is great, garlic, coriander, parsley, herbs and spices. Make sure you add these to your foods, whether they be to your smoothies or salads, or you put them in your food, like if you're making stews or whatever you're making. Leafy greens are really great too for salads. Kale, spinach, arugula, Swiss chard, collard greens, you name it, it's there. Nuts and seeds, so walnuts, pumpkin seeds, almonds, macadamia nuts, pistachios, flax seeds, any and all. They're really good for you. Lean meats, so if you eat meat, fish, beef, chicken, eggs, tofu, all of that is great. Legumes, of course, lentils, chickpeas, red kidney beans. And for grains, I always recommend just quinoa because that's the one that has the least amount of sugar. It's not a starch. And it's actually the healthiest. If you guys recall, it wasn't too long ago that they called that a superfood. I think of it the same way. It's a superfood for me as well. And it actually contains a lot of protein as well, if you guys wanted to know. And now let's talk about the worst. I mean, of course, this hits me hard because my father had cancer and other people in the family had cancer. And what contributes to cancer development? Lifestyle, really. And remember what I told you guys in the beginning, lifestyle is one of the pillars of health. Lifestyle is 90% contributes to cancer. So whether it's diet, exercise, sleep, stress, whatever it may be, yes. And the reason why I put diet here is because a lot of people, what they do is they eat late. That is a big no-no. You go to sleep and your blood sugar is so high and your body doesn't even have an opportunity to burn that sugar. So that's why I put it there. Age also contributes to cancer because the toxic load, as I said in the beginning, gets really high by the time we're older. We've had more time to accumulate more toxins, right? We've eaten bad, we've smoked, we've drank, we've stayed up too late, we've done a lot of things, we've inhaled really bad quality air, things that are chemically, like I was talking to Jaspreet before, like those chemical scented candles, or a lot of people put those like air fresheners in the car, Febreze, things like that. No, 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 no. Like those are all carcinogenic, and there's so much more. If you barbecue your meat and it's too charred, too black, that's a carcinogen. But I'll talk more about this during the program that I told you guys I'm going to be launching, so you have more in-depth information. Only 5% is actually attributed, 5% of genetics is attributed to cancer. So don't think that because somebody in your family had cancer, you automatically are going to get cancer too. Not even a little bit. That's like very, very rare. And what they say is that genetics loads the gun and lifestyle pulls the trigger. So sure, you might have that predisposition genetically because somebody in your family had it. And I could talk in more depth about that. Like, for example, if you have trauma that's embedded into your nervous system and into your DNA, and you take on that, you take on the trauma, there's many, many factors that are, part of this whole thing. But we're talking more surface level here. Genetically speaking, yes, but genes do not get turned on unless you do certain things. So that's why it's important to keep stress at bay. That's why it's important to have a good lifestyle. That's why it's important to have good, proper sleep, because those genes that have the higher risk of being turned on could get turned on because you did not do proper. Like, for example, if you hang out with the wrong people and you start to smoke, I don't know, or you start to drink and you start to abuse that. Those genes are going to get turned on and you're going to express cancer on the body because that gene has now turned on, and obviously it's going to start to mutate the cells. It's going to turn on the mechanism that's going to push all the cells to start, what's it called? Dividing like rapidly, so it starts to grow. Okay, so genetics only plays 5% role, but it's still important to make sure that it would be good if you can do like genetic testing. Not necessarily, a lot of people do genetic testing because they want to see, who's in their lineage, like, am I related to Queen Victoria or King Charles? But it's good to go and get your genes tested to see whether there are any defective genes and what those are, so that you know what measures to take. There are many, many tests that you could do out there. They cost a few $100s, very worth it. But of course, only if you want to. Getting back to cancer, risk factors. So there are two different types of risk factors: modifiable risk factors, which are the ones, so you can modify them. It means you could change them and control them. Things like diet, exercise, alcohol, smoking. Those are things you can choose. You could choose to diet. You could choose to go exercise, you could choose to drink alcohol, and you could choose to smoke, vape, whatever it is. And then there are the non-modifiable risk factors, which are the ones that you cannot modify, you cannot change, you cannot control. That's your age, that's the environmental exposure. So if you, let's say, work near a mine and you inhale a lot of, what's up in the air, then of course that's going to increase the likelihood. When I did my internship, there was a woman who had she worked in a factory. She had exposure to asbestos, so she had lung cancer, terminal stage 4 lung cancer. And genetics, you cannot modify your genes to the degree that you get them, and you can then make sure that you're not going to pull the trigger. Like I said, the genes load the gun, and then you pull the trigger through your lifestyle, which is, again, modifiable risk factor, right? So, moving on, the most potent anti-cancer foods, here they are. Again, you will see that a lot of what I said about diabetes is very much the same with cancer, because all foods that Mother Nature gives us are the ones that just promote health overall. But I did want to bring your attention. So berries, obviously, again, grapes. Remember when I showed you guys this from the medical news today? It's the grapes. So what's in the grapes? The resveratrol, which is an antioxidant, which you find only in the red grape skins, has shown promise as a tool for fighting cancer. And there's a book out there that actually talks at large about this. And I firmly believe it too. I have my my magical smoothie, which is a cancer prevention thing. I'll talk about that when I launch my program so you guys can get the recipe. It's very, very powerful, but definitely cruciferous vegetables, herbs and spices, leafy greens, and green tea. Green tea has a lot of antioxidants too, so that's an important thing if you're a tea drinker. But of course, make sure you guys, I know that this goes without saying for me, but I think I should still mention it, organic. You want to make sure you do not ingest chemicals. You're trying to prevent things, not cause them. So best health supporting nutrition. So here's the nutrition that supports health, right? So these are the main families of foods. So they have to be whole and unprocessed fruits and vegetables. You want to have berries. Above all fruits, berries are the most potent, like the most powerful, bar none. Dark leafy greens, the darker the better. Cruciferous vegetables, so that whole like family that I told you guys, Brussels sprouts and broccoli, things like that. Whole, unprocessed grains. I really want to emphasize whole and unprocessed. I believe that, especially in North America and United States, corn is probably the most processed. It actually has in its DNA, they have introduced this particular thing that prevents bugs from eating it, but you're eating it. So if they're trying to make sure that the bugs don't like it, why would they think you would like it? Food for thought. Quinoa is my favorite grain, and that's the only one that I will typically have unless I'm indulging in some sort of pasta and I only get made from Italy, because in Italy and in the entire European Union, they have banned the spraying of things. So go ahead and go and buy things that are made there with products from there. Make sure that you do your due diligence to make sure that it's not like, well, it's made in Italy, but they used flour from the United States. You don't want that. Legumes, my favorite, lentils. They also have a lot of, so they have a lot of fiber. They have a lot of protein. Lean meats, if you eat meat. Fats should be your nuts and seeds. And when I say lean meats, of course, I'm referring to whatever meat you eat. Don't eat pork. It's not very lean. And when I say lean, of course, I mean organic as well, but the one that doesn't have a lot of fat, right? Because that's not the fat that you want to ingest. Keep the fats to nuts and seeds and avocados from the plants. Plants are our best friends. And of course, herbs and spices. Those are really supportive of health. So that's the nutrition that you guys should, these are the families of things that you should eat. So this is how you should build your diet on. These are the pillars of nutrition for anything that will support health. And remember, this is one of my favorite things. And I love it so much. I say it all the time. When the diet is wrong, so if you're not eating the right things, trust me, medicine is not going to save you. Otherwise, people could eat a lot of shit, take medication, and they'd be super healthy. But is that the case? How many of you know that that's the case? Because I don't know anybody that eats a lot of crap and then is super healthy because they take a whole bunch of drugs. Nobody. And when the diet is right, medicine is not even necessary. Like, this is just the best quote ever about health. It's so perfect. It just encapsulates everything. It makes perfect sense. So remember that. It's at the foundation of Ayurveda. Okay, portion sizes, so that you guys don't overeat. Remember, use your hand. You can have, visual comparisons. Your plate should be half full of veggies, quarter plate of lean proteins from meats or whatever, source you like, quarter plate of whole grains, and a little bit of healthy fats. Okay, I'll show you because I have some visuals for you guys to see this. And in order not to overeat, don't go and get a big plate and fill it up. Use smaller plates if you tend to overdo it. Do not eat from containers. I've done that. It's not good. Make sure you remember that even liquids have calories. So if you're going to go and indulge in wine or anything like that, the average glass of wine has about 150 calories. Try going on a treadmill and look at how many calories you're burning and how long it takes you to burn that 150. So that's just the wine, not the rest of the stuff that you might indulge in. And also, of course, pay attention to your body's signals for hunger and satiety. So really, really feel hunger, not like I'm craving it or I feel like it. That's not hunger. Hunger is like, nourish me because I need food right now. And satiety, like stop when you feel, like, no, I'm comfortable. I'm feeling good. Like I think I'm done here. And oftentimes, remember what I told you guys, I don't know if you recall, but for the average person, I'm saying normal, healthy-ish person, it takes you about 15 minutes until you realize that you are full. For an obese person, it takes 45 minutes for that to travel from the brain to the stomach. And the reason why they perpetuate the obesity is because in that 45-minute period, they just keep on eating. If you were to just keep eating for another 15 minutes, you wouldn't do as much damage as somebody who's going to be eating for another 45 minutes, which is 3 times as long as you, right? So keep that in mind. Pay attention to your body talks to you all the time. So nutrient density, I know that you guys are probably thinking, well, of course, all nutrients. No, not all. Like if you look at fluffy white bread in North America, that's not nutrient dense. Okay. So you want to look for keywords. Like when you see, and here's my number one rule. When you look on anything, and I don't have anything handy to show you guys, but if you look on any container that claims anything, or a bag or a jar or any kind of packaging whatsoever, and they claim anything like fortified with this, or extra vitamin this, or high in fiber, it means it's not. It means they're trying to attract you to get it by trying to claim something. It's like somebody coming to you and saying, I'm a good doctor. They should not try to convince you so hard that they're a good doctor. Like their work should speak for them, much like how it works for food. Food speaks for itself. Broccoli doesn't go and say, hey, I'm really good for you. I'll help prevent cancer. It just does. So be very, very cognizant of that. So when you see stuff like that, steer clear. When you go out, make sure that you ask about preparation. So sometimes restaurants can substitute whole grains in place of refined grains. So make sure you do that. Your lean proteins, of course, choose wisely. Pay attention to your portion sizes and the sauces they put on them. One time I went to the Keg and I had a steak and they put some sauce on it. Man, that sauce was like, it was tasty, but it was very heavy, very heavy. So be very cognizant and mindful of that. Vegetables, you should have in variety and color. I know that I talk about green. Green is like great, but try to eat the rainbow, as they say. Steamed and raw are the best way to consume them, and ask for substitutions. Like if you go to a restaurant and they say, hey, would you like fries with that? Just say, actually, do you have vegetables? I would love some vegetables or a salad. So ask for that. Substitutions are always okay. And remember, they would want you to go back and spend your money at the restaurant. So they will accommodate. And healthy fats like sauces, dressings, and all that stuff are not the healthiest of fats. So make sure that you pay attention. Just ask for nuts, not the candied nuts. They have a lot of sugar on top of them. So just regular nuts are okay, and use them in moderation. So the general tips are: start with a salad when you eat out, drink water about half an hour to an hour before you eat. And I put this in red: no sugary beverages ever, 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 especially with your meals. Do not upsize anything unless you say, hey, can I get an extra this, that, or the other? And then you're going to take half of it home so that you can eat it later or tomorrow. Ask lots of questions. And remember to make sure that your plate is balanced in accordance to what I told you guys, and I'm going to show you very soon. So macronutrient balance. So this is what your plate should look like, or every day you should get 45 to 50% of your meal. Like every meal you have should be comprised of carbohydrates. And I'm not referring to pasta, and I'm not referring to bread. I'm not referring to any of that. I'm referring to veggies, complex carbohydrates. Remember when I showed you guys this beautiful, where is it? Picture right here. These are the ones you want. Right here. Okay? Not these. These. So those are your carbohydrates that will help you. Let me go back to it. So 45 to 50% of your meal should be made of that stuff that I just showed you. 30% of your meal should be a lean source of meat, whether it's animal, whether it's plant, it's equally the same, 30% of the meal. And fats, 20 to 30%, and make sure it's healthy, no saturated, no trans. So make sure you balance your plate, eat mindfully. Don't just shovel in your mouth, like as if you're taking a shovel, you're putting it in your mouth, none of that. And be consistent with healthy eating. Very important. So here is, I'm going to give you some visuals. This is what a plate should look like. Of course, this is like not even cooked, but it's just to show you. So fruits and vegetables, as you can see, make up half. So you could put berries in your salad, or if you're just going to make some broccoli and I don't know, some asparagus, that's okay too. Very little. And this should be, like I said, quinoa is my favorite, the best one. It also has a little bit of protein and this much meat. That's it. That's it. Very simple. This is what your plate should look like if you eat meat. Okay. So this is a really good meal right here. Doesn't give you digestive distress, gives you all the nutrients you need. It has amazing fiber. It has protein. It has all the leafy greens, so micronutrients as well, and you're rocking. So if you eat meat, this is what you could do. So whether this is chicken or whatever you want, if you, I don't know, veal, whatever you eat, your choice. If you eat fish, this is what a plate should look like. So there's a piece of fish, there's some fat, there's some veggies and some leafy greens and a little bit of carbohydrates. And if you are vegan or vegetarian, you could do tofu. So this is what it should look like. Or you could do lentils, or you could do any other beans. Red kidney beans work really well as well. Really good fiber. So now let's assemble a salad together. What I did for you guys, I should have done this in the past, but I haven't in previous sessions. I put together a template. So here's my salad template. And I put together what's optional. I always like to add, I mean, it's a meal, right? So you should have your greens, leafy greens of your choice, whether that's spinach, spring mix, kale, arugula, you name it. That's your choice, whatever you like, as long as it's a leafy green. Antioxidants, really important to have those. Beets are great. Berries are great. Bell peppers, especially red, those are amazing. Really good. Protein, you could have your lentils, your grilled chicken, your grilled salmon. See how I said grilled? Do not fry it. You could put tuna in it. You could put tofu if you don't eat meat. For carbohydrates, I always say quinoa. Sweet potato is good as well, but that's a starch. That's the only reason why I would, but I love sweet potatoes too. Fat, your avocado, flax seeds, walnuts, things like that. I mean, there's other ones that you could obviously, like if you like macadamia nuts, put that, pecans, put that. And here are some other options. Like if you want to make, if you feel like sweet, you could do berries. You could put berries, and tomatoes are quite, I mean, of course, get organic. They are sweet. Tomatoes are considered a fruit. If you want to make, if you want to put spicy, so I always put garlic in my salad. Sometimes I put ginger. You could also put jalapeno if you like spicy. In the winter, I love it. Herbs, so you could put basil. In the summer, I put a lot of basil because it's fresh. You could put thyme, you could put oregano, cilantro, dill, parsley. You could go to town with it, but it's optional only if you like it. I love it. And of course, anti-inflammatories. And also, because as we get older, our joints, and of course, inflammation is the #1 response from the immune system. When something goes wrong in the body, the first thing that it will be is inflammation. Turmeric, ginger, onion, garlic, those are great things that you could put as part of your salad. And as you could see, garlic is here as an anti-inflammatory, but it's also spicy, right? So you make sure that you add it just for that reason, because it does, it's like a thing that wears multiple hats. And you will see a lot of these things. I put together this for you guys, a salad dressing template. So how to assemble a salad dressing. So this is what I do. And I use my my Vitamix, my blender. So a salad dressing, in order for proper balance of nutrients, it should have an acid. And acid comes from lemon, lime, or vinegar. In Italian, Vinegar is called aceto, right? Acid, aceto. It's like literally it's acid. So vinegar should be balsamic or apple cider vinegar. Lemon is perfectly fine as well. You should have a fat, so extra virgin olive oil. You could do tahini, you could do avocado, you could do nuts, you could do seeds, however much you want to put, for the amount of fat that you want to have. Typically, if you guys want, you could just do an acid and a fat. Those are the basics. So you could do vinegar and olive oil. That's okay. But you can go the extra mile. So of course, salt, you could do celery, switch short stems. Those are actually, they have natural salt in them. So you could also add sweet if you want to put berries, tomato. You know what I've actually done one time, and I didn't like it that much because it was much too sweet. But what I did is I had this like really ripe, it was in the summer, it was a really, and I love mango. It was a ripe mango. So I threw it in the blender and I blended it up with all of this stuff. And it was delicious, but it was much too sweet because I'm not used to eating a lot of sweet. So it was too sweet, but you could do it. So you could add something like that if you want to, sweeten it. But remember, organic, natural, it's not fractioned, it's not processed, it's not refined. You put it in there and you know that it's exactly how Mother Nature made it, then it's okay. And of course, spicy, if you want to add garlic, ginger, jalapeno, garlic. And remember, you guys, if you're going to put it in the dressing, you don't have to put it in the salad unless you want to. If you like extra garlic, sure, go for it. Why not? It's not going to hurt you. And the same thing with herbs, like sometimes what I do is I rip them and I put them in the salad, and sometimes I add them to the dressing itself. You could do that as well. Whether that's basil, thyme, oregano, cilantro, whichever. And of course, your anti-inflammatories. Turmeric, sometimes I'll add like ginger in the blender so that it blends it up and it just gives it that little bit of a bite. Garlic again, and onion. So this is a salad dressing template. Okay, these are some of the constituents of a dressing. And if you look at, of course, like as a nutritionist, whenever I look at something and I read the bottle, I'm like, okay, there's the acid, there's the fat. Like I'm able to identify those things. But typically, this is what you need to have in a salad. So remember, when you dine out, this was the last session that we did. Ask the right questions. Don't ever be afraid to ask questions. You want to make sure that what you put in your body is going to be contributing to health, not to illness. So feel free to ask, how is the dish prepared? Can you tell me about the ingredients that are in this? And if they don't know, let them ask the chef. Are there whole grain options available? Can I get the dressing on the side? Sometimes they'll put too much, or you don't want to put too much. Or if you want extra dressing, ask for that. Is it possible to substitute veggies for a starchy side? So you can, instead of getting, like I told you guys earlier, fries, get veggies. Can you accommodate special dietary requests? So for example, if you're vegan, or if let's say you're diabetic and you say, I can't have this sugar, so I see that this has candied nuts, I can't have those. Can you please put them aside or give them to me in a container, and you take them home and somebody else can eat them? That's okay. Don't ever be afraid to do that. So remember to choose cooking methods wisely, no deep frying, practice portion control. I showed you guys how to put together a plate. Healthy substitutions, always ask. Dressing inside and sauces on the side, ask about how it's prepared. You want to know if they fried it, you would want to know that. Beverage choices, remember, water before the meal, never with the meal. You dilute the digestive enzymes and then you're going to get bloated 100% for sure. You're going to destroy your digestion. Start with soup or salad, okay, so that you don't overeat. Listen to your body when you feel full or hungry. Avoid mindless eating. Don't be sitting with your phone scrolling and shoving food in your mouth. And plan ahead. Like, remember what I showed you guys last week when we went over on that website, and I was showing you guys all the things that are in and how much each thing was. Make sure that you do that. And remember, you are in control at all times. What you put in your body is all within your control. And of course, most importantly, you got this. You can do this. All right, my friends. So that is it. This time, I know that if Anna was here, she would kill me because I had 39 slides. That's quite the presentation. But let's do some Q&A. I want to hear what you guys have. I'm sure that you have questions even from before. I kind of reminded you of some of the things that we talked about: protein, carbs, all of that stuff. What do you got? Who has questions?
Simone, when you take turmeric, you should be taking black pepper too.
That's right. That's
Absorb
right.
the curcumin, right?
That's right. To activate the curcumin,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
requires black pepper. So that's what I do. I usually put a little
Yeah.
bit of black pepper when I have curcumin. I
Right.
mean, and ideally you should have it fresh instead of powdered.
Yes.
But I know that some people, depending on where you put it, and remember, it stains. It stains really bad. And for those people that don't know, if you put it in sunlight, it actually removes the stains. Preeti, I saw you had your hand up.
Yeah, the difference between cacao and cocoa, I actually, forgive my ignorance, I actually thought it is just said differently. It's the same thing.
No, no, no.
Yeah.
Cacao is raw, like it's exactly who it is,
Yeah.
and cocoa
Okay.
is processed.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why they call it that. But definitely, so when you see hot cocoa, yeah, that means it's processed. You can do hot cacao very easily.
Cacao
you-
you can get in powder form and in nib form.
Yes, cacao nibs. Oh, those are great. You know, I used to put them in when I
In
used
the
to,
porridge. It's in the
yeah,
porridge.
and in pancakes for that extra crunch.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
great. Amazing. But yeah, definitely cacao. So whenever you go and you look for it, cacao is what you want to see. And if you look, because I have, and if you ever have the opportunity, you will see the difference in the color of the powder and even in how grainy or how fine it is, the consistency. That's how you could tell the difference.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else, anybody? You guys have the salad templates, the dressing templates. Of course, reach out to me if you have questions, if you wonder whether, something is okay. If you want to put like apples are good to put in salad too if you want,
Sure.
especially the Granny Smith. Those are more tart, so they're sour. That works okay because it's not gonna like overwhelm, like I told you guys when I did the mango. That was way too sweet, way too sweet.
Simone, what is your take on frozen vegetables? I mean, they just look good, or do they have any nutrition left in them after being frozen, like kind of?
Okay, so here's how I look at it. If I had to choose, I would always do fresh, obviously.
Of course.
It goes without
Of
saying.
course.
I'm stating an obvious fact. So definitely fresh would be best. Second would be frozen. And hopefully they flash freeze them in the sense that they don't like they pick them and then they flash freeze them. So they put them in this, through this process that freezes them instantly. You don't want them to go and, sometimes what they do, they put waxes on things to make them look nice and appealing to people to buy, and you don't want that. So if they're flash frozen, it's okay. So that would be my second choice. And the last one would be canned. But if you don't have access to frozen and if you don't have access to fresh, then by all means, please eat the canned ones. You need some sort of fiber. You need that fiber. You definitely do. And there will be traces of, vitamins and minerals in there. Not as much, of course, as the fresh variety, but it's better than nothing. That's what I say. Sometimes I look at things, I'm like, if I had to choose between, because I was telling you, I was thinking today when I was thinking about doing this presentation, I'm like, if I had to choose between coffee and wine, what would I choose? Because I said, they're both dehydrating. Coffee depletes your magnesium, obviously wine has a whole bunch of, especially red wine, it's got colorant and all kinds of things, dehydrating. And I'm like, okay, if I had to choose between the two, it would be coffee. Coffee has more nutritional value. Yes, it's dehydrating, but so is that. This doesn't do as much to the liver as that does. So oftentimes you have to think like, what's the worst between the two?
Yeah.
It's like saying, would you eat a muffin or if you had to, not that you would choose, but if you had to choose between a muffin and a donut, which one would you have?
Lesser of the two
Muffin.
evils, yeah.
Muffin.
Right? So the muffin, that's right. So that's why I always think of it like, or if I say, like if you had to choose between a muffin and a bagel, which one would you choose? Because oftentimes we don't have those access to those choices. But what I do, so this would be part of my lifestyle thing, what I do is even when I'm out and about or I travel, because a lot of times people are like, oh my God, I was so hungry. I had to go to Tim Hortons. I'm like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. You could have gone to Metro or to Loblaws and you could have bought yourself a ready-made salad that they have right there. Sure, it costs quite a bit, but remember, it's an investment in your health. You did not have to go to Tim Hortons. You don't ever have to go to McDonald's, Arby's, or any of those bad chain food stores or whatever you call food. It's not even food. And you could very easily go to a grocery store. If you're like super hungry and you just need to get something quick until you get home to make your dinner, yeah, you could go
Just
into
buy a banana.
That's right. Buy an apple, buy a banana, and eat that. And it's going to cost you what, less than $1. You do not have to go to Tim Hortons. You do not have to go to McDonald's. You do not ever have to go to those places where you would be doing damage to yourself. So yeah, or you could just travel with stuff, buy nuts. Like I see at the dollar store, they have those like little bags of macadamia. I love macadamia nuts. For any of like if anybody has been to Hawaii, oh my God, it's like heaven there because that's where all the macadamia nuts are. And yeah, so I get those macadamia nuts and everybody in my family knows I love them. So every once in a while when they go, like I see them and they're like, oh, I got you these. I'm like, oh my God, thank you. So I have them in the car, I have them in my desk, I have them. So there you go. Like you're hungry, just have a handful of nuts. That costs $2. Two. You do not have to go and buy something that's gonna spike your sugar from Tim Hortons or McDonald's. And it's gonna, cause your hormones to go haywire. You have choices. You always have choices. If you think outside the box, oh my God, you have so much choice, especially if you live in a city. If you're out in the country and you have to drive like 25 minutes to get something, okay, you would get a pass that McDonald's was closer, so you stop there. Even then, I would say it would still be worth the extra drive because it's your health and you do not want to get cancer or, diabetes or whatever the case may be. So remember, everything is an investment. Like there are people who have no problem, like to go and buy an expensive purse like that. Or, you see them, they do their nails, $50 every 2 weeks because, it grows. Or they do their fake longer eyelashes and that's like 100 and I don't know. Like you invest in that. So you're okay to spend $150 a month on your beauty, but organic is too expensive. Like the logic of it just does not add up. So remember, what you put in your body determines not only your mental health, but it also determines longevity, how long you're going to live. It's going to emotional health, exactly. It's going to determine how good you're going to be when you're 80. Because I look at people right now and in their 40s, and you're still very young in your 40s, but that's typically when the trouble starts. 40s is that very tricky age. I mean, now it's like even earlier. I talked to like when I was doing my studies on, women's health, I see that like the needle has moved on, menopause, perimenopause. It starts in the 30s now. And typically that's why they say after the age of 35, you get pregnant, you're at high risk pregnancy now because your body is no longer like the endometrium starts to thin. And for any of you that know women, young girls who take the birth control pill, just so you know, the endometrium, so the lining of the uterus has to be around like a certain 7 millimeters to 8 millimeters thick to be able for implantation to occur. Okay, for that, like the baby, sort of like when the egg, like when the egg and the sperm come together, it has to implant in the endometrium. That has to be 7 to 8 millimeters thick. People who take the birth control pill, it actually thins it. So implantation doesn't occur, which is why women say, oh, I had to wait for however much time after I was on the pill so that I can get pregnant. So choices, here's my philosophy. And of course, I'm going to talk about this when I do my health program further down the line. What you do now, right now, whether you're 40 now, or whether you're 20 now, or 30, or whatever you are, if you do not invest in your health, you are borrowing from the future. You are definitely borrowing from the future. It means that you will feel it then. You will definitely feel it then. Like when you're in your 20s, you're like, oh yeah, I used to go party all the time and I was drinking and smoking and I would wake up just fine the next day. It's like, oh, you trust me, the damage is going to come like in the 40s, in the 50s. This is why you see that people typically have the heart attacks and, the diabetes, like they become obese. They look, even that their skin looks bad. They look aged. If you look at some people and they're like, oh my God, you look so young. Or you look at some people and you're like, oh my God, you're 37. You look like you're 47, like all of that plays a role. So you have to always invest in your health, no matter what. What you put in the body will show up on the body, will show you whether you are able to do things. Like, for example, looking towards my own future, like I invest a lot in exercising every day, but back when I was in my 20s and in my 30s, it was all about like, oh, how much weight can I lift? Or now it's more like, how flexible am I? And when I'm going to be 70, 80, it's going to be like, am I able to go up and down those stairs with ease? Am I going to need a cane? Because I don't want a cane. So every single bit counts for so much. And I look at the people in their 40s now, and I could start seeing how, and I look at it against myself because I'm in my 40s. I'm actually 25. I'm lying to you guys. And I see how they cannot put their arms up like this. They're like, oh, that hurts. And I'm like, oh, I could do that very easily. So I'm like, okay, good. Or there's another thing. It's like, can you get down on your butt and back up without like, holding on to things and pushing yourself up or any of that? Like that's a measure of health, you guys. And remember what I told you, grip strength. Are you able, if you're going down the stairs, let's say, and you trip, are you able to grab the thing fast to hold you from going down the stairs? So do you have reaction and do you have strength to hold on tight so that you don't fall down those stairs and break your neck or, God forbid, die? Like those are very measurable things, and they're very important as we age. Very important as we age. So please, I beg you all, invest in your health as you age. You want to be able to enjoy your family. You want to be able to enjoy your own life that God gave to you. You want to be able to feel good in your body. Nobody should suffer. Like, pain is terrible. It's so much stress. Just pain alone is actually very, very bad for you. Like it'll bring you pain will bring you to an earlier death. That's a fact, because it's stress. It's stress on the body. Like when you feel pain, your body starts to produce certain chemicals, certain hormones, like cortisol, for example, which throws off the whole balance. So now cortisol came in, it's going to throw off your period, or it's going to throw off your, testosterone if you're a man. So it's like a cascade, one thing. It's like, so imagine if you're not going to be investing in your joints or in your muscles or in your limbs, and you're in pain, like you're like, oh, my sciatic nerve really hurts, and you're in pain. That kind of suffering is going to actually impact you in many other areas. So please invest in your health. And like I showed you guys in the beginning, for those of you that came in late and are still here, these are the pillars of health, okay? So diet, this is the only one we touched over the last 12 weeks. And I did it very high level, but it's like so much more in depth. And then lifestyle, which is one of my favorite things, as well as mindset. I was talking to Jaspreet before we got started, and I was telling her, people who think they're going to get sick or die will. You literally manifest it. So, like those are people, they're called hypochondriacs. They say, oh my God, there's this on my hand. I must have skin cancer. It's like, don't ever say stuff like that. Do not bring that to yourself. That's an important factor. Lifestyle, like I said, I touched on this, those really bad deodorants that have chemicals in them.
Yeah.
And I have a picture, this is part of lifestyle as well, but I have a picture of, and I don't know if you guys can, let me pull it up right now if I can. Give me 1 second, you guys. I just wanted to see, there was a picture that I saw for deodorant. I believe it was, what's the blue one?
Secret.
Secret, thank you. I believe it's Secret. And let's look at images. On the back of it, it actually tells you do not use it if you have broken skin. So for those people that shave their underarms and they nick, so they cut the skin, the chemicals in that thing, when you put it on, they go into your blood. Let me see.
Simone, you get an organic deodorant, the organic farm in Milton.
I do not
Of the organic lavender farm.
I do not use deodorant, but yes, I do.
Even I don't use, but if anybody wants to use, they make an organic deodorant with no chemicals.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's exactly what, oops.
Yeah.
That's exactly what people should do. I mean, ideally, don't use any.
Yeah.
Here, guys.
Even I don't use any.
But I had a picture and I posted it on LinkedIn a whole bunch of time ago when I wrote an article. And yeah, it was terrible. It actually said, do not use if you have broken skin. And I'm like, oh my God. It was like this tiny, tiny writing. And it's like, do not use it. And it's true because you're introducing the chemicals in it into the bloodstream. Literally, that's like you're trying to cause cancer. So very important to make informed decisions. I was telling Jaspreet that it's unfortunate that we are in this society where we have to be doing so much to prevent getting sick, so much when in fact Mother Earth has given us everything that we need, but here we are. Let's work with what we have. And remember,
Yes.
everything everything comes and goes. Everything will pass. And a lot of stuff on TV is very, doom and gloom. So don't consume that. Don't internalize that. All right, my friends, it's 9:30. Jaspreet has very, very kindly offered to stay, and Anu has very generously offered to extend the session until 9:30 so that we can do Q&A and have this conversation. So I just want to tell you all, thank you so much for participating.
Thank you for giving us all this information. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure, and thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to not only provide this information to you guys, but to, and get involved in the conversations that we've had. And I promise you guys, I'm working on developing more programs. I will let you all know. I will work with Jaspreet and I will email you guys links and everything. I'm going to do it on Zoom, just like now, for continuity. I've always used Zoom as well. I'm going to try to do some in-person sessions as well. So I'm going to get a venue. And I will see you guys when the next programs, when I launch the next one, will definitely be the cancer one. But you all have me on WhatsApp. So if you have any questions ever, call me, message me, text me, whether it's in the group or outside of the group, just me, perfectly okay. All right, guys. Well, have a great rest of the week.
Thank you.
Have a great
Thank
weekend.
you so much.
Thank you.
Very
Thank you so
welcome,
much.
guys.
Highly appreciate.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys all. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Simone. Good night, everyone.
Good night.